This piece of hi-fi equipment shouldn't sound this good. But it does, and I can't help but love it. Most people won't be ready for it though. Because this minimalist audiophile system breaks all the right rules. That's right, I wrote that. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about the Cambridge Audio Evo 1. So let's get this out of the way real quick. So if you're not interested in this product, you can go ahead and stop watching this video. However, I think you should give it a chance because it's incredible. It's simple. It's small. And I know people are going to get mad. And I know people are going to make comments that I'm not the cheap audio man. And they shouldn't, because if you look at the entire cost of the system, it's $1,500, which isn't very expensive when you're putting together a really good hi-fi system. But people are still going to say it. You're not the cheap audio man anymore. Even though cheap's relative, cheap means different things to different people. This is the console stereo reimagined. This is a beautiful piece of equipment from the Cambridge Audio Evo line. Look at this. This is from the Evo line. This is the Evo 150, the DeLorean edition. Look how gorgeous it is. You got your screen, got your cool stuff on the sides and the top. Have all your cool connections. And the Evo 1 is just like that, except cooler. It's got this awesome wooden top. Same sleek design, same design ethos, but everything is in the same box. You could call this a soundbar replacement. You could call this they call it a speaker. All-in-one streaming speaker. Think about this as if Bose actually made something that was awesome. I get it. Bose makes good noise canceling headphones. I get it. Back in the day, Bose made some really cool speakers. And they made the little wave radio. Think about this as the wave radio, but not being dumb. It has 14 speakers that deliver 700 watts. And this thing is a chunk. This is one dense piece of hi-fi product. This is heavy. Broad strokes, it has a streamer inside. The same streamer that is in the Evo 150. The same streamer fundamentally that is in the CXN 100. So it works off of the Stream Magic platform. It has Rune. It has Tidal Connect, Spotify Connect, and then you can run all the things that you can run on Stream Magic on the Evo 1. Also has a 7-band equalizer. Also has adjustments for where this is placed in the room. Also works with Google Home, AirPlay, and Rune. I already said Rune. Claims to have 14 times 50 watts into 4 ohms. I don't really know how to take that. That doesn't really compute in my head. But it has 4 1-inch silk dome tweeters, 4 2¼ inch aluminum cone mid-range drivers, 6 2.75-inch long throw woofers, Class D amplification. The DAC is amplifier integrated. That's right, I'm just reading the specs here. This is how good my channel is. I just read the specs to you. Amplifier integrated DAC, 32-bit up to 192 kilohertz. This one though, listen up, this is the frequency response. And guess what? I absolutely 100% believe it. 38 hertz on the low end. 38 hertz on the low end, up to 20,000 hertz on the top end, and that is plus or minus 3 dB. Negative 10 dB at 32 hertz. Got a 6.8-inch screen on the front. Uses the 4th generation of Stream Magic. You have 2 analog inputs, one of which is a phono stage though, so you have 1 regular analog input. or any of your analog input needs. HDMI, eARC compatible, and it works great. I mean, great as a soundbar substitute, soundbar replacement, soundbar destroyer. Destroy. I can't go low this morning. It's better than a soundbar. You can also hook up USB music on a thumb drive or hard drive. Has an optical Toslink input. And of course, the ubiquitous Bluetooth connection does SBC, which is kind of the catch-all, and AAC for all of your Apple devices. You can hardwire your internet, but it also has Wi-Fi and it's flawless. Let's talk about some things that I don't like, even though I love this thing, okay? I love it. A couple of things I wish were different. Just a couple. I don't love the remote control. The remote control works. It's great. Functionally. But from an aesthetic standpoint, and one of the things about the Evo line from Cambridge is the aesthetics. That is part of the value proposition. That is part of the beauty of this product. That is part of the reason why you would buy this product. And we have a remote control that looks like this, okay? It still works. Works fine. Let's look at the remote control from the Evo 150. A lot better. There's some design cues in here. It's a beautiful remote control. It's sleek. It's got the awesome Cambridge logo down there on the bottom. Wish it had a better remote control. Number 2, I wish it had a preamp out. I know, this sounds weird, but bear with me. If this had a preamp out, you could run this simultaneously as a soundbar replacement and as a streamer into a more traditional hi-fi. Or you could run the preamps into a subwoofer. Frankly, if I had my druthers, this would have a preamp out and a subwoofer out. And then you could run maybe some high-pass filtering, something like that. Like, I don't even know if this idea makes sense, but I just think it would be cool if you could use this as a streamer into a traditional hi-fi system. Or if the preamp was on all of the time, you could do a little wireless kit, something like SVS cells. Then you could beam that wirelessly to a little amplifier in the back, and then you can have a bit of immersive music. There's a lot of things that you could do with a preamp output. However, that's all of the criticisms that I have. Let's talk about how it sounds. You can't talk about how it sounds without talking about how it looks, because whether or not you want to admit it, how things sound also tie into how things look. If something looks nicer, if something looks awesome, then it generally sounds better. I know that's all in our heads, but it doesn't matter. You cannot divorce how a product looks from how it sounds, because the overall experience is what we're really after. This thing is amazing. Whoever designed it is a genius. Industrial, I don't know what you'd call it, but whoever put pen to paper, whoever turned on their computer program to make this thing look cool, well, it looks really cool. The screen is offset. It's awesome. You got the wood top. You have the very nice heather grill that kind of goes around the whole thing. It's amazing. I feel fancy when I listen to it. This reminds me of something that would be like an apartment of somebody that's really cool in Europe. But they also sell it in the US, so you can make yourself feel really cool here in the United States of America as well. I had this in my giant living room, and this thing had no problem filling up the entire room with wonderful sound. How does it sound? Remarkably balanced, remarkably dynamic. Even at the flat setting without using EQ, this is the type of sound that I like. It has punchy bass. It has very clean mid-range without having that kind of thin, overly analytical mid-range. The top end seems natural, not harsh at all. Probably has something to do with the Silk Dome tweeters. And the amount of bass that you get out of the Evo 1, borderline absurd. It's a paradox. It's a paradox. Paradoxically, the bass is awesome. So here's where the audiophiles are not going to like it. This is not traditional hi-fi. This is not just 2 channels. This is not home theater. This lives in between, in the nether region. Like the upside down in Stranger Things. Like where Wolverine and Deadpool went in the latest movie, Deadpool versus Wolverine, which is a fun movie. The plot's terrible, but it's a fun movie. If you have sidewalls in your room that are an equal distance apart from the actual Evo 1, you actually get really good imaging. Obviously, you're going to get great center imaging because that's where the music is coming from. But I must say, I did get an immersive experience, especially on recordings that have a larger than life soundstage. One of the tracks that I use to see how well a speaker or a system soundstages, how big the presentation is Tool, Chocolate Chip Trip. And while it's not as good as just 2 channels, there was travel from the left to the right, from the right to the left. There was dynamics when the bass came in, and I actually felt in my chest when the huge drum fill came in. Johnny Cash, God is Gonna Cut You Down. I use this because 2 things. One, his voice is usually very forward of the band on a traditional setup, depending upon how much mid-range is going on in the speaker or the associated electronic equipment. Also, his voice, I want to hear some good baritone, but not too much baritone. I still want there to be detail in his voice. However, since all of the music is coming from a fairly small box, it sounded more like a flat surface. Now, his voice sounded great. His voice did seem a little bit forward because that's how the recording is. But you don't get any extra help from a pair of speakers that may have a bump or a recess in the mid-range. Wherever I May Roam by Metallica, at the 14-second point, there's a little that comes out of the right speaker, but since we don't have a right speaker, I wanted it to come out of what I would think where the right speaker would be, and it did do that. The snare drum when it came in, was really good. This thing sounds better than it should sound. What are my final thoughts? So I'm going to make up what I think are going to be the biggest pushbacks on this product from the audiophile community. Soundstage and imaging. Is that debunked here? Well, it depends on your room. If you have a very symmetrical room, I think you're still going to get soundstage and imaging. Is it going to be as good as 2 speakers? No, it's not going to be as good as 2 speakers. Sound quality. I think a lot of people are going to think you're just not going to get enough bass out of this. That is not true. You get plenty of bass, plenty of clean bass. You also have the 7-band EQ, so you can adjust this to your liking. Overall, I would put the sound quality on par with just about any system that comes in around the same price point. So that objection also off the board. It's tiny compared to traditional systems. You have one thing to plug in. Now, if you have some peripherals like a turntable or a CD player or whatever it is, yes, you're going to have some cabling. But for something that's this big, the convenience factor, the cleanliness factor, the sleekness factor is off the charts. You know, it's funny because when I was at one of the audio shows, Exponent or Capital Audio Fest, I saw RuArc. And RuArc is, I would say, kind of falls into the same category. The new console stereo. It's more expensive though. Quite a bit more expensive, and they have a bunch of different models within that line. And at $1,500, I think the Evo is coming in at a much lower price than a lot of the RuArc products are. I don't think people should sleep on this product. Now, I don't think it's going to be anybody's main hi-fi system if they're a true audiophile. But this for your television, or this for a system that you're listening to when you have people coming over, your entertaining room, I think is an amazing product. Amazing. This could also be your entire system in your second home, your retirement home, your Florida condo, your cabin in the woods in Colorado. Now, I get it. Not all of us have second homes. Most of us probably don't. But most of us probably have 2 rooms where we have televisions, 2 rooms where we do listen to music, And I think this would be a phenomenal second system in anybody's home. While I get and I understand this product is not going to be for everyone, I don't think we should just dismiss it because it's outside of the paradigm of what we think audiophile music should be presented from. It's not traditional, but it should be traditional, because if we think back, the console stereo was in more homes than probably 2-channel systems were. The console stereo was the focal point for most normal people. And if anything, I think this is an excellent decision on Cambridge Audio's part, because you are crossing over into the mainstream. Cambridge has catered to the 2-channel enthusiasts for so long. I think we should celebrate the fact that there is a product coming out of their brain housing units, the think tanks over at Cambridge Audio, that is going to propel them into the mainstream music audience. I think this is an excellent product. It might not be for every audiophile out there, but I really appreciate they're doing things outside of the box, even though this is a box. Love it. Paradox again. Thinking outside the box with the box. So if you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon. Patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Patron Zooms, Patron Discord, Patron Facebook group. You can also buy me a cup of coffee down at the bottom of the video. There's a thanks button. Click on it. Get me some Folgers. Folgers is expensive. It's a little cold. You can also use the links in the description. Most of those will be affiliate links, which means if you click anybody, I get a commission. Doesn't cost you any more, so it's a great way to support the channel. If you like this video, you really need to check out the video about the Cambridge Audio Evo 150, the DeLorean edition, because that's awesome too. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen maybe through your new Cambridge Audio Evo 1 and fill your soul with happiness.